Hello, everybody. I finished it. I finished Matthew Perry's book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. I want to put a trigger warning up here. I'm going to discuss addiction, suicide, pretty much everything he discusses in the book. So if you don't want to hear about that or aren't in a mentally good place to hear about that, or maybe if you are a recovering addict that does not like to hear about addiction or drug use or alcohol or anything like that, skip this video. So overall, I did not love the book. I feel like it was all over the place too much. It was hard for me to follow along. I wasn't sure what point in time we were at most of the time. I wasn't sure which event came first. He had talked about a few different events, and some of them he put dates on, or a year at least, and then some of them he used the Friends seasons to kind of keep you on a timeline, but some of them were just very confusing. Overall, I feel like he came off super entitled, and it was annoying in lots of the book. I didn't love that. I hit a point in the book where I was just ready to be done with it. I did not want to read it anymore. I felt like he was super entitled and not really hitting the points that I thought he should be hitting. Kind of like with his own mental health, I feel like he discussed being in therapy, but didn't really discuss like what his treatment for his mental health was, aside from his self-medicating with oxycodone or with alcohol. So I felt like I would have liked more of that, like more of what his actual like treatment plan was from these doctors that he said he was seeing, you know. But I'm glad I read the book. I kept going. I pushed through, mainly because I knew I wanted to talk about it on YouTube, and I had already posted the videos saying I was reading it. I've posted on Instagram a few times that I was reading it, so I felt like I couldn't give up, which was good because I do feel like it got better towards the end. And there's a part in the book that I want to read to you guys. It was my all-time favorite piece of the book. So he says, this is on page 202. He says, so there I was, living in a Malibu sober living house on 8 milligrams of Suboxone. Though it's a solid detox drug, the best, as I've said over and over, it is the hardest drug on the planet to get off. In fact, it made me suicidal to come off it. That's not quite accurate. I had suicidal feelings, but I always knew it was just the medication, so I wasn't actually suicidal, if you follow. All I had to do was stave off the days when I felt suicidal, not do anything about it, and know that at some point I would feel better and not want to kill myself anymore. Yes, like that is probably the best thing he writes in the whole book, because that is so true, not just for, you know, suicidal thoughts caused by medication, but just suicidal thoughts in general. Like, your thoughts will always change. Your feelings will always change. Nothing is going to last forever. And if you can just survive those days where you are at your lowest and feel your worst, other days will be better. And you will be happy that you didn't make the decision to do anything about your suicidal thoughts. So I definitely love that part in the book. And then the last chapter was pretty much just him, like, thanking everyone and, you know, saying how grateful he was for certain people in his life and certain times and stuff like that. The whole book kind of starts off where he talks about, like, an event that happened in his childhood that was very traumatic for him. And it kind of like keeps coming up throughout the book. Like, he kind of has pinpointed that as like the moment that messed with his mental health so bad, you know? And so he definitely spent years and years self-medicating. And I don't know, even in the book, it's not clear if he is actually medicated for any mental health issues or anything like that. Um, I mean, I would assume he is, because he seems to have severe depression, which he points out in the book a couple times. But he never talks about like medication from like a legitimate doctor. He does talk about some crooked doctors that gave him Oxycontin, and other pills. I think he was on Valium for a bit and stuff like that. But he said that he would take it as prescribed, but then also take way more, um, obviously. But I thought overall it was nice to learn more about Matthew Perry and his journey. Um, I was thinking about it as I was reading the book, and I was like, I don't even remember this stuff being on the news. But I think it's because I was young. Like, a lot of his like rehab stays that were super publicized were back in the 90s, and I was a literal child. So I guess that's why I don't remember. But I I loved watching him on Friends. I've seen him in a couple other things. I didn't know that he like wrote plays and TV shows and stuff, which I learned in the book, so that was pretty cool. Overall, I think I would recommend the book. I think it was a really good insight to his addiction and kind of what he was struggling with, and maybe, what other addicts struggle with as well. He talks a lot about AA, and the 12 steps, which I could make a whole nother video on the 12 steps of AA. But I don't know. I think overall for me, it was hard to follow. I got really caught up on the timeline, but if you don't get caught up on timelines and don't really mind the jumping around, I think you would like the book. I think it was really nice to get his perspective, and not just like his perspective in the moment. Like, he's really looking back at it after all of these things had happened, and he's really reflecting on maybe what led to him relapsing or what led to a rehab stay. So I thought overall it was pretty good. Hard to follow for sure. But I plan on reading another book soon. I actually finished this one a lot faster than I thought, because yesterday I wasn't feeling great. I had a headache. So I pretty much spent hours just reading because I was trying to avoid screens. So I read a huge chunk of the book, and I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad that I was able to focus on reading, which is not a strong suit of mine, so YouTube is definitely holding me accountable. If you've read the book, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to read the book, I suggest you do. Aside from it being kind of hard to follow, which I know like could just be a me problem, it may not be a problem that translates to other people. But yeah, I hope you read it. Let me know in the comments what you are reading currently, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye!